Well, guys, I decided to give this daily thing a name. We're going to call it Fresh Brewed Kentucky Politics because, well, coffee. Speaking of, if you like what we're doing, you want to support our fights, efforts, us paying attention to what's going on in politics around here, and also the fact that we absolutely refuse to be canceled, check us out in Lexington, swing by the coffee shop, or you can check us out online at shop.brewedco.com. Shop.brewedco.com. Just threw that link up there for you guys. And I'm going to get into it today. We're going to talk. We're getting some responses from the legislators. Some of our people are on HB508 and HB561. Both of those are the gas tax bills. They're very similar bills, and they're very different in the same way. So the whole idea behind the gas tax bill, the gas tax thought process, is the gas tax system needs to be, quote unquote, modernized. And what does that mean? Well, it needs to be modernized because the way gas tax has been figured priorly, the way gas tax has been figured priorly is that the, let me turn that down, is that it was a 9% of wholesale figuration. So whatever gas price was, average wholesale price for the prior year, the fiscal year for government here in Kentucky is July 1st. So whatever it was for the prior year from July 1st to July 1st, they took 9% of that, and that was your gas tax. The problem is wholesale prices have gone up and down, so they need to make a change, they say. Now, I would hold, they don't need to make a change, and we can have a greater conversation about that, but let's talk about what the real problems with HB508 and HB561 is. Right now is not the time to be raising taxes of any kind on Kentuckians. Kentuckians are dealing with COVID. They've got the situations going on as far as, things are tight as far as it goes. It is not time to raise taxes, but HB 508, what it would do is it would switch it from being figured on a wholesale percentage to being a set flat amount per gallon. So in this case, 24.6 cents, which is the current floor, and it would keep it there. And then as the highway repair index goes up and down, it would increase with it up to 10%, but it would only decrease at the most 2%. And so basically that would result in a situation where your gas tax would be raised by 40% over the course of 5 years without you needing to do a single vote. Now, the other bill, HB 561, it does a similar thing, except now it sets the floor immediately 10 cents higher, which is a 40% increase on your taxes, and then allows it to also go up 10% year over year, and which could result in the end in 5 years, 100% increase in your taxes. So HB 508 and HB 561 are bad bills. Now, HB 561, I think, since it's so obviously egregious to lift your taxes right away 40%, I feel like they're trying to distract us with 561 while they pass HB 508. Regardless, we don't need to be raising our taxes right now. And when we've been emailing and talking to legislators about it, their responses have been, well, what do you want us to do? We need more money. Where do you want it to come from? This is what they need to understand. This money to the taxpayer all comes out of the same pocket. It comes out of our pockets. And when this money comes out of our pockets, it doesn't matter which fund it's going into. It's all coming out of our pockets. So if you're saying the road fund needs more money, we're saying we're paying too much in taxes already. We're not telling you not to put more money in the road fund. What we're saying is either A, shift money from the general fund over to the road fund, or B, charge us less on our property tax, less on our income tax, less on our sales tax, and then you can increase our gas tax so it ends up being a net zero if you're just trying to funnel more funds into the road fund. But that's not what you're doing. What you're trying to do is just add more taxes on it. I'm sorry. The government already gets around 45%, 46% of what all Americans use pay in payroll in a year. The government already takes in 45% of that. They do not need more money. They just don't need it. On top of that, then you couple that in with this commission on race they just passed that they're spending $2.5 million on. Now, I'm not against searching out racial inequities as they see fit and solving them, and I think that's a greater debate. But more importantly, there's tons of nonprofits that already exist that could more than point out what these inequities are, and could, I'm sure, in a heartbeat, if you asked them, they would propose a bill for you. However, what you have instead is this forming of a commission on race that they're spending $2.5 million on, while they're telling you we have to raise your gas tax price because, we just don't have enough money there. And at the end of the day, government, if you believe government has key functions, and I know there's a lot of people that have different feelings on it, but if you believe government has key functions, it is roads and it is schooling, according to our Kentucky Constitution, the public funding for schooling of some sort, and it is making sure we were protecting ourselves, through policing and things like that. That's about their main functions. Anything beyond that is benevolent reasons. And you can agree with them, you can disagree with them, but at the end of the day, if we don't have enough money for your key functions that government is supposed to be doing, we don't need to be spending more money on these benevolent reasons, these feel-good reasons that make us feel better. And as I said, I'm not against necessarily looking at legislation as far as making, if there's some sort of great racial disparity that's worth conversating about, that really exists and is something we need to look at. However, spending $2.5 million on a commission while you're also raising the gas tax just seems deaf to me. As I said before, there's plenty of private nonprofits that can propose legislation on that. You don't need this. Why you're doing this is to make it look like you're doing something on the race issue while you're not really doing anything, and you're just spending our money, our tax dollars, in order to make it appear like you're accomplishing something. Meanwhile, no-knock warrants is still working its way through the House. And personally, I don't know where everybody falls on this, but me personally, I really have a huge problem with no-knock warrants, simply because the fact that if you bust into my house without knocking in the middle of the night, I'm going to start shooting too. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying that means that those police in the Breonna Taylor shooting did anything necessarily wrong. I'm not saying that at all, because it's a policy situation on the ground. What I'm saying is I understand why no-knock warrants are a bad thing, because I believe in our Second Amendment, and I believe that if somebody busts into your house unannounced, you should get to shoot them. That's it. That's why I believe that we probably shouldn't have no-knock warrants. And I think that's generally a good thing to make sure that we're not having those accidents occur, at least not in the middle of the night. That being stated, and once again, just because I believe there shouldn't be no-knock warrants doesn't mean I necessarily believe the police did anything wrong in that situation. The individual officers, once again, this is all a different debate. But more importantly, you're spending our tax dollars creating this commission while you're not doing anything really on that issue. While then you're also trying to raise our tax dollars to pay for HB508, with HB508 and HB561 to pay for roads. It is just not simply, it just doesn't make sense. If you're broke, you don't spend money like this. They're not spending money like they're broke entities. They're spending money like they are just don't care, like they're just not paying attention. It's so tone deaf for you to sit there. KSB has a Learjet, for crying out loud. And you're sitting there saying we need to raise more money for the road. It just doesn't make sense. And then when we message you about it, you want to sit there and be like, well, how would you solve the problem? Like, I don't know, maybe you stop spending money. They love to create this false dichotomy that you have to choose A or B, and that's it. And that's just not the case. You can't. There are other ways to solve this problem. Cut our taxes elsewhere. If you need to raise our taxes, bring more money in the road fund, cut our taxes elsewhere then. That's a real simple solution. Make it a net zero at least. I would prefer a cut, me personally, but at least make it a net zero. And let's not forget, part of the reason why the road fund is where it is because you, the government, have kept on making bad decisions. 20 to 30% of the road fund goes out in servicing debt that you have taken on, that you didn't necessarily vote for, and that we now have to pay for. And you've taken on this debt, and now we have to pay for it. Because right now, the road fund doesn't need more money because things cost more. The road fund needs more money because 20 to 30% of it is going towards servicing debt. Meanwhile, we've got this $600 million rainy day fund that Annie Bashir wants to give out to small businesses. And listen, I'm a small business owner, right? So don't get me wrong. If somebody's handing out free money, you're crazy not to take it. You are. And personally, I pay taxes, so I just think of it as a refund on my taxes. That being stated, if we are going to open up soon, we're not going to lock down again. I don't foresee a need for this money to go out. And this is why. And that reason, the real problem, the real tragedy, the real unspoken business victims of the COVID lockdowns are all those people who already have lost their businesses and they don't still exist. Those are the people we need to be getting solutions for in some way. And I have spoken with Annie Barr's office actually about this, and I'll be following up on it more on wanting the SBA to provide very low percentage loans to businesses that have gone out of business but can show prior years of profitable success. Basically, it'd be a very low risk loan that the SBA can make. The government can actually make a little bit of money on it. Meanwhile, we can get our industries fired back up. Now, I know a lot of you guys sitting out there are like, I don't like government handouts. I hear you on that. However, under the Fifth Amendment takings clause, if the business takes if the government takes something from me, they have to compensate me for that. So personally, if I lost my business due to COVID, I think the government should offer me a way to get that back because it's their fault I lost it. It's not COVID's fault. It is their fault that I lost it. But that's an argument to put to the side. Now, me personally, if we're going to do it for business, that's what I'd rather see. And I'm saying this as somebody who has businesses that are open right now that, of course, would benefit from that $600 million going out to businesses. I think it should, if it's going to be used for the business industry, I think it should be used to help those businesses that have already closed. That being stated, perhaps it would be better spent paying on the UI loan that's causing us big issues and that Kentucky businesses will be paying on for years and years to come. Perhaps if the road fund's so bad off, perhaps we pay off some of that debt on the road fund so that way 20 to 30% of the road fund doesn't keep going out. Maybe we use it to pay down our other debts. Maybe we use it to finally help grow the broadband. Well, you know, we're the only state in the entire country that did not spend $1 of our CARES money on internet expansion. Only state, right? Now, we've seen it time and time again of money being put aside to help Eastern Kentucky get its infrastructure up and rolling for after coal took off. And one day I might do an episode where I talk all about the history of how the coal in Eastern Kentucky worked and how really the Democrats are really screwed over Eastern Kentucky by misappropriating the coal severance funds and things like that. But that's besides the point once again. However, we need to be looking at those types of things. Just saying, hey, we've got this rainy day fund. Let's just spend it. No, let's cut back on our spending. Let's get people off of welfare. Let's instead not just hand it out to somebody. But, you know, once again, that's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But regardless, this isn't the time to be raising taxes. This isn't the time to be spending money uselessly. This is the time to be very calculated and careful in how we spend our money because, quite frankly, we need to be reducing the amount government's spending and reducing the amount of debt government has. Because at the end of the day, that's how they control us. Listen, look at the road fund. They say we're out of money. We need to raise taxes. Part of the reason they're out of money, because they have so much money in debt that they're paying on. They're setting us up to be controlled into giving them more money in taxes because they made loans without our consents. They made loans, and now we have to pay for them. Debt by the government is just, in my thought process, the more the government goes into debt, the more they can control us because the more taxes they need just naturally. If they're doing the same exact amount of services and then they also go into debt, now they're doing the same amount of exact services and they have the cost of servicing that debt. If we got rid of that debt, that would be like a way of providing. If we got rid of the debt, that'd be a way of providing more money into the budget without having to increase taxes. And I think that's a very important thing we have to remember. Every time the government's going into debt, the chickens are going to come calling. They're going to come home roosting, and we've got to pay for it, and that's what we're running into with the road fund. Now, on HB508, that's the school bill that we're saying gives school systems like Fayette County Public Schools the option to stay NTI only as a board decision. It's always been a board decision. It always has been. However, more importantly, on HB508, the original sponsor of the bill, Regina Huff, has been, quite frankly, going around and saying that we don't know what we're talking about, even though a part of our network is a lawyer who is just sued to open up the schools. And part of the defense the other lawyer used to why schools should be closed was the passing of this bill. So in order to put that to rest, in order to make sure we're all on the same page, I offered to Regina Huff to debate. We can debate in public. We can do it online. I don't care. But I offered her a debate. And if she really believes that HB508 does not do exactly what we say it does, then she should be able to step toe-to-toe with me and debate it out. Because if you're not willing, you've taken enough of your time, Regina, to go on and comment on everything and get all upset at everybody who's saying you're lying, this bill does this, it keeps schools closed, and you want to go on and argue with every single person, put it to bed right now. As we've seen in your comments, you know it's from the Brewers. That's what she calls us. So as the person who runs the Brood page, if you want me to post that HB508 is a good bill, come debate me and win. Come debate me and win, and explain to everybody how it doesn't do exactly what we say it does. And if you can, I will gladly make a post stating that I was wrong and you were right. I'll be gladly wrong to do it. So step up to the plate, Regina. This is politics. This is how it works. Step up to the plate and let's go. Now, in other news of government overreach, just something funny I saw in federal level, something called the Sturdy Act has been introduced at the federal level. The federal level Sturdy Act is nothing more than a furniture regulation act. So what it does is something about furniture tipping over and killing children. And of course, if you don't agree with the Sturdy Act, if you don't think government should be regulating furniture, you just want children to die. That's the defense on this. And in fact, I'm going to Google this real quick. No-tip furniture. Let's see here. Look at that. There's an entire line of safety brackets and other options, how you can keep your furniture from tipping over. Let's see, the Hangman anti-tip kit, a 400-pound falling furniture kit. There you go. So right there, right off the bat, just a quick search for falling furniture, which is what the Sturdy Act is worried about, because something like 400 kids have died apparently in like 20 years. I don't know. They need to regulate the furniture industry, which of course they're not going to call like a furniture maker. And no, they're just going to be like, let's just say it can't tip over under this amount of whatever. Here's the thing. If you're worried about your furniture tipping over, go get those safety brackets. I just literally Googled up. They cost like $5-6. At some point, we have to start taking accountability for ourselves. At some point, we have to. At some point, we have to recognize maybe the government just doesn't need to be involved in everything. And if you're worried about your furniture falling over on your child, go buy an $8 anti-tip 4-pack furniture kit and stop that from happening, okay? You just really, I'm sorry. The Sturdy Act is just silly. It's dumb and it makes no sense. Now, I'm going to dig into this next topic of how do we fix the system we're in. And as I dig into this, I might even lose some followers and things like that, so follow me here. So first, as I go in this and talk, there's a lot of different thought processes about how do we solve an issue. And I'm saying this as somebody who was in the Libertarian Party, as many people know, up until 3 months ago, 2 months ago. 3 months ago. And I'm telling you right now, I do not believe if you want real liberty changed in a fashion that is fast and quick, and by that I mean over the next 6 years, not in the next 50, I do not personally believe a third party is the answer. Here's the reason why. The reason why you want to leave the Republican Party, if you want to, or you're dissatisfied with it, is because the people in the party It's not the platform you disagree with. It's the people in the party. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but just because you join the Libertarian Party, there's no litmus test to make sure you fall into a certain level of beliefs, and it's a triple check, and they're super honest, and they're always going to do what they're supposed to do. What I realized, especially after the actions of some members of the state party recently, including stating under oath that they do not believe what the governor had done rose to impeachable standards, all that tells me is that the Libertarian Party, much like the Republican Party, is made up of people. And the only reason why you think the Libertarian Party is the answer, as I sort of thought, it wasn't necessarily I thought it was the answer per se, but I just recognized the Republican Party was having a hard time really finding its way in life, it seemed like. And so the Libertarian Party, you think it might be the answer. However, it's just made up of people who the only reason they haven't disappointed you yet is because they haven't gotten in office to do it. If you want real liberty change, there's a better, quicker way to do it that doesn't involve a new party. Now, if we were in any other state that had, I don't know, either it's open primaries, ranked choice voting, didn't have straight ticket voting, then then perhaps I could make an argument that the Libertarian Party would work. In this state, however, we have something called straight ticket voting, and it's never going to change anytime soon because it is used by the two major parties to maintain control and power. It sucks. I hear you, Libertarian Party people. I hear you. It sucks. But that is the way it is, and it's a long ways from changing it. So if you want to get real change done, there's a quicker and better way, in my opinion, to do it. And that is through using the primary process to hold Republicans accountable. Now, to all those people that want to sit there and be like, oh, I vote all the time. Oh, I'm sending in all my emails, and I sign your petitions, and I call like you tell me to, but they never listen to us. Well, it's because there's no repercussions for their actions. Before I came on today, I did a little research. There is 75 Republican members of the Kentucky State House. In 2020, only 19 of them had a primary opponent. Of those 75, only 54 even had a general opponent. In fact, there's certain members of our House that have been unchallenged in the primary and the general since 2014. There's certain people who've been unopposed in their primaries since 2014. For an example, member of the impeachment committee, Susan Miles, has been unopposed in a primary since 2014. Kim King has had only a write-in candidate opponent and no primary in 4 years. That is the problem. If you want to know what the problem with our politics is all you got to do is look in a mirror. Our system was not designed to have this level of people not participating. You want to know how you get Mitch McConnell out of office? You don't do it in the general. You do it in the primary. You want to know how to keep these people held accountable for what they're doing? You do it in the primary. And then when a person doesn't, and then this is crazy, right? This is going to get real crazy. I might even lose some Republicans on this one, so bear with me. And then when they get through to the general, don't vote for them. Don't vote for them. Don't vote for them in the general. Let them lose to a Democrat. I know what you guys are thinking. Andrew, what are you talking about? Let them lose to a Democrat? That's crazy. Listen, first thing is it's easier to get rid of an incumbent Republican. It's easier to flip a seat from Democrat to Republican than it is to keep going after an incumbent. There's some argument there about it, but there is. And additionally as well, we have a super duper majority in the House, and ask yourself this right now with what we've been doing, what are the Republicans doing? What are they doing? It is now considered, I guess by them considered far right, because I don't want higher taxes. I think when a governor knowingly breaks the Constitution, they should be impeached for that. I am far right because I believe, or to liberty or whatever you want to call it. because I believe that, parents should have the choice on schools, not the school boards that's been keeping them out. I'm far right because I believe, things like open records requests, which, I'll talk about that bill maybe another day or here in a bit with someone else, but open records request bills that suck in the ability, cut down the ability of individuals to hold government accountable, because I don't like those things. I think those things are bad because I don't like government control, because I think that, ask yourself this, even on the lockdown side of things, right? Right now, because of what's going on in the courts, mixed with their inability to pass bills that would end the COVID emergency right away, mixed with all that, what has this Republican-controlled GOP actually done to rein in the governor at this point? We still wear masks everywhere. Well, you're supposed to. You're still, businesses are still getting threatened with their licenses taken away. Just the other day, a health department walked into Cattleman's in another town where people were sitting at the bar and told them, oh, people can't sit at the bar. Oh, COVID's all around the bar. You can't sit there. Right? What has really changed? With this majority, we have Stivers dropping a 77, a section, dropping a act to codify, to strengthen what the governor's, some of the governor's executive orders already. He dropped that as well. And so we've got to remember that it doesn't help us to have a majority if they're not going to get done the things we want them done. And the way you get them to do that is not by going off into another party that is also made up of people that I promise you will also let you down. Like I said, there is no litmus test for the Libertarian Party to say you have to believe this to be in there. There's really not. There's members of the Libertarian Party of Kentucky that believe ownership of land, of property, is wrong. There are members of the Kentucky Libertarian Party that believe that. That is within their libertarian beliefs. My point in saying that is not to say the Libertarian Party is bad. I wish there was a third party that had a reasonable chance here in Kentucky to go. But my point of saying that is it's not a new party that's the answer. You haven't been showing up to vote in primaries. You haven't been showing up to donate to candidates you want to win. You haven't been showing up to be active in this. It can work for liberty. I'll give you a perfect example, the roadmap that we can follow to make the Republican Party be truly conservative again, be truly liberty-oriented, to be truly the party of the Constitution like they claim to be. And my best roadmap for you on that would be what's called the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. Now, the left does something much better than the right. They're better at their first, they're better at working with their grassroots. Right now, because the Kentucky GOP is mad at me, a member of their grassroots, they won't pass a bill in the House that will stop the governor from being able to take restaurants' licenses and ABC licenses and things like that. They won't pass it just because they don't like me. That's literally the only, I have been told that by 4 or 5 reps now. Hey, Andrew, we tried to get this bill moving forward for you, but leadership is kind of stalling it out on us because they don't want you to have a win. Okay? So the left does a lot better job of working with their grassroots just in general. Point in case that nobody in leadership has reached out to any of the grassroots of Kentucky for Liberty to even find out what we want done. But yet we're calling, we're emailing about it. But look at the Democratic Socialists of America. Look at what they have done. They start picking off establishment Democrats. They started winning in primaries. And now people like AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, right? They get a lot of media attention, but also at the same time, they are directing a lot more of the policy of the Democratic Party to be a lot farther left than it used to be because of these tactics. Now, we want to do the same thing, but we want to do it to the right side of things. We want to do it for liberty. We want to come in and get them off this big business, crony capitalism BS and get them honoring our Constitution and making sure that government is returning to their key functions. Their key functions. and listen. I understand you feel like I call, I email. Why am I filling out these petitions? I've got 2 petitions going right now, hardcore, the gas tax petition and the mask mandate petition. The reason why these are important, the reason why calling, emailing is important is because when they lose in a primary, we want them to know exactly the reason why. We want them to know they lost because they did not go the way they needed to when we needed them to. And it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, 90% of the time, they're going to vote on inconsequential things. But 10% of the time, it really matters. And if they vote the wrong way in that 10% of the time, we got to get rid of them. On top of that, one of the arguments too I hear is, the Democrats, Republicans, they are no different. That is incorrect. If you're sitting here listening to me speak, as I'm talking about holding Republicans accountable, if you notice, I'm not talking about holding Democrats accountable. Because we can't. Because they're not standing on a platform of beliefs that I'm trying to hold them accountable to. The Republican Party claims to be the party of the Constitution. I can hold them accountable to the Constitution. And I can hold them accountable in the primary portion of their races by making sure we turn out and we're active in our work. And we're not going to do that if we're writing ourselves out of the primaries and not bothering to vote. And I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, it is our fault that only 19 of the 75 House reps in the Kentucky State House didn't have a primary opponent. That is only our fault. They're going to listen to who gets them elected. And right now, leadership, GOP, Mitch McConnellites, people like that is what's getting them reelected. And they only have a reason to listen to people who get them elected and keep them in office. And if we make it clear that if you don't start standing up for what you actually say you believe in, we're going to remove you. If we don't make that clear, then they're going to keep doing it. And you can't make it clear by deciding to remove yourself from the political process by not being able to take part in the primary process. And once again, to all my LP people out there, and I know a lot listen to me, a lot follow me, a lot of them are my friends because I used to be in the LP. I hear you. I hear your complaints. I agree with your stance. However, at the end of the day, if we're all very honest with ourselves, the Libertarian Party is years and years and years away from being able, because you don't just got to get 1 House rep or 2 House reps in there. You have to have enough to swing a vote, to propose bills, to get things passed, to have control of committee. The Liberty Republican movement already has 5 House reps and 1 senator. We already have that in there recently. 3 of them of the House reps, 4 of the House reps this year. That's recently. Okay? So, keeping that in mind, if we spin up and do even stronger because they've made so many bad decisions and we make sure we field good primary candidates, we can take over another 10 seats or so legislators in the Senate and in the House. Now we're at 16. That is enough people to really start passing bills and making a huge difference. And I'm sorry, but the Libertarian Party of Kentucky is decades away from being able to have that kind of control in the State House. If you want real liberty done quickly, it is through the primary process that we all, including myself, have priorly been checked out of and not showing up to vote in. Our founding fathers set up our system so we wouldn't have to resort to violence, so we wouldn't have to do all these things. Our founding fathers set up a system involving a primary process. It is not the system that is broke. It is the fact that you don't show up to use the system.